White House yesterday. Joining us now from Washington for more on this, former National Economic Council Deputy Director in the Trump administration, Clete Willems. He left the administration this spring. Clete, thanks for being with us this morning. And I got to ask, did yesterday's meeting really change anything? We have the ban going into full effect in mid-August. Where do we go from here? And what do you really take from that timely decisions?
Well, I'm encouraged by where things are headed at the moment. I think yesterday was an indication that the United States is going to handle this in an appropriate manner. And that's that the U.S. is going to crack down on transactions that pose core national security threats, but that they're going to let things move forward where those same concerns aren't raised, and that they're going to do it in a timely fashion. So I would view yesterday as positive. I also think that if you look over the weekend, China's talking about making more ag purchases. They made a big sorghum purchase last week. And as you know, there's a lot of talk about a trip. So things are trending in the right place. But I do want to just put a little bit of caution out there and say that Huawei, agriculture, these aren't the reasons that the talks broke down about 2 months ago. And structural issues and tariffs are what this is really about. And so I would just curb our enthusiasm a little bit until you see more news on that front.
Clete, what makes you think that Huawei wasn't a critical piece of this? And, you know, if you're encouraged and it's trending in the right way, how does it actually get past lawmakers? And, you know, there's bipartisan support from both sides that Huawei is a security threat and American companies shouldn't be allowed to supply the company.
Right. Well, I think the position that the administration is moving towards on Huawei is totally defensible. And that's that when we say national security, we mean national security, and we're going to crack down on transactions related to the network and things like that really could cause a problem for us. But at the same time, the administration is talking about allowing transactions to move forward where our companies would be competing with companies from Korea and Japan, and our companies should be able to compete for those kinds of things. And if they don't raise a national security threat, if it's something related to a cell phone and not the network, that should be able to go forward. And I think the U.S., to be credible here, it needs to do this in a nuanced way. Now, the point I made earlier about Huawei not being the reason that things broke down was that if you recall in May, where the U.S. and China got into problems was over how China was going to make legal changes in order to effectuate commitments on forced technology transfer. And that is what they need to get back to. I think Huawei is helpful for the atmospheric. It is clearly something that China cares about. But this deal, at the end of the day, is about forced technology transfer. It's about the tariffs and how the two sides are going to get through those issues.
Why is Huawei even in the trade discussion? I don't get it. Either it's a bold-faced security threat that's been completely infiltrated by the Chinese government, and the administration was justified in the really extreme step of stopping all of these U.S. suppliers from dealing with them, or it's just a bargaining chip and we were bluffing. How can we have it both ways?
Well, China's the one who has been raising Huawei as part of the trade talks. When I was part of the negotiating team, you know, we went to great lengths to keep this out of there. But China has been raising it. And I think, again, where the U.S. is going on this is defensible. It doesn't need to take the maximalist position, which is to say that every transaction with Huawei is problematic. The U.S. can protect national security by focusing on national security-related transactions. And so I just go back to the point that doing this in a sophisticated way where we draw a distinction between those things that really cause a problem for our networks as distinguished with, you know, semiconductor components that go into cell phones for use in China. I just think there's a difference there. And so I think that the administration can handle this while being responsive to the legitimate national security threats.
If all that's true, Clete, why do some still believe that restrictions broadly are still tied to whether or not the Chinese buy our agriculture?
So in the most recent discussions, those two issues have been linked. But what I'm trying to say is the core of the real deal between the U.S. and China is about forced technology transfer, and it's about the tariffs that the U.S. put in place to combat that. And this is an issue that we need to get through in order to focus on those real issues.